When I ran 150,000 volts through my head, I saw them. These words were spoken by Nikola Tesla in a private conversation that was never published. But what did he truly see in that moment? Were they the hallucinations of a genius or a revelation about what lies beyond death? In this video, we'll uncover a little-known episode from Nikola Tesla's life, his mystical experience on the border between life and death. You'll learn why, after this, he came to believe the soul is immortal, and death isn't an end but a transition. We'll explore the connections between science and spirituality in Tesla's work, his mysterious experiments, revelations, and what he once called contact with the essence of light. In the early 1900s, Nikola Tesla conducted a series of mysterious and dangerous experiments in his Long Island laboratory. He used giant coils of his own invention to create high-frequency fields, sparks that flashed with deafening cracks and voltages exceeding anything used at that time. He claimed these fields could not only transmit energy wirelessly, but also affect the subtle structures of the human mind: consciousness, memory, perception. These claims were considered madness then. But Tesla was certain. Electricity wasn't just a force. It was a gateway. One night, alone in his lab, Tesla connected himself to the device, running 150,000 volts through his head. He didn't lose consciousness. Quite the opposite. He claimed to have transcended it. His breathing became barely noticeable. His pulse nearly disappeared. The world around him began dissolving like smoke. Tesla described this state as entering another reality, where bodily boundaries vanished and time and space became illusions. It was a transition, and then began something he couldn't even name. Tesla called this state mechanical sleep. Breathing slowed, pulse disappeared. The body became still as a corpse, yet consciousness remained clear and even unusually active. He described it as complete detachment from the physical world, as if his body had become an empty shell while his mind floated above it, free from flesh's weight. Space around him began warping, the laboratory walls seeming to stretch into infinity. Time ceased being linear. Everything happened simultaneously. Past, present, and future merged into a single stream of perception. He couldn't tell whether he was sleeping, dying, or finally awakening from the long sleep called reality. This state resembled neither dream nor hallucination. Rather, he felt suspended between two worlds, on a fragile threshold beyond which lay something else. Not physical, not earthly, yet profoundly real. And this something was approaching. In this strange, frightening state where boundaries between body and consciousness blurred, Tesla sensed he wasn't alone. He heard no footsteps, saw no silhouette, felt no breath nearby, yet knew. Something was watching him. This wasn't the presence of human or animal. It had no form, weight, or sound. It was pure awareness, alien yet not hostile, detached yet all-pervasive, like a mind hidden in the very air studying him with the same intensity Tesla studied his machines. This observation didn't inspire fear, but awakened deep wariness, as if some ancient instinct stirred within, sensing something greater than mere uncertainty. He tried concentrating to understand this presence's origin, but the more he looked inward, the clearer it became. This mind wasn't external, but hovered at the edges of his own consciousness, waiting for him to dare ask a question he wasn't ready to hear answered. Attempting to comprehend this presence's nature, Tesla suddenly experienced a flash, not in his eyes, but within his mind. Space around him dissolved, yielding to a light that didn't blind but breathed. It came not from lamps or equipment, having no conventional source. This light was alive. It pulsed, as if possessing its own heartbeat, its own will. It wasn't white or yellow, rather, beyond color spectrum, beyond logic. The light was everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. It didn't speak, yet its presence filled his consciousness with images, sensations, thoughts. Tesla realized this light wasn't merely a phenomenon. It was an entity, but not as we imagine living forms. It needed no body, voice, or face. It simply was. It penetrated his consciousness's deepest layers, not invading but seemingly remembering with him things he'd never known. Information flowed freely, without words or logic, like knowledge always present within him, but only now activated. This was contact, but not human, and perhaps not the first. When this contact ended, Tesla took long to recover. He never spoke of it publicly, fearing ridicule and misunderstanding. But he did confide in one person, his friend Mark Twain. Their nighttime conversations often blended philosophy, satire, and metaphysics. In one such talk, Tesla admitted he'd seen what people would call the devil, but not with horns and hooves. It was light, an entity beyond good and evil as we understand them. He wrote to Twain, "I don't believe in the devil as depicted in books, but I saw the observer. It doesn't punish or tempt. It simply watches, records, offers choices." He said this being was a kind of cosmic tester, an emotionless filter through which souls pass, not a judge but a mirror. It shows humans their capabilities. The decision remains theirs. Tesla was stunned because he perceived in this entity not a threat but a necessity. It wasn't evil. It was part of the balance, and perhaps it, not God, tests whether humans deserve truth, power, and immortality. After this confession, Tesla fell silent, but his notes contained hints at something crucial. That being, the light, the observer, showed him more than life's mystery. It revealed consequences. In one moment, Tesla understood his inventions weren't just brilliant technical solutions, but tools capable of altering civilization's very nature. Electricity, wireless energy transmission, vibrations affecting the brain, even thoughts about distance-destroying weapons. These could become salvation or curse. The light imposed nothing, commanded nothing, but it showed. Within Tesla arose an image of humanity at a crossroads. Development, clean energy, disease treatment through vibration, connection without borders on one path, destruction, wars, mind control on the other, and everything depended on one thing, the human soul, not technology, not formulas, but intention. Then Tesla first wondered, was this why he'd seen the observer? Not as revelation, but as test. Could he resist power's temptation, the chance to become a god among mortals? This realization left Tesla changed. He didn't simply emerge from mechanical sleep. He struggled free, as if through black vacuum void of anything human. His body was exhausted, limbs trembling, heart racing wildly. Lying on the laboratory's cold floor, he couldn't immediately comprehend his surroundings. Everything seemed alien. Walls, equipment, even his own hands. Like returning to a world he no longer belonged to. Panic gripped his chest as if reality itself rejected him. But with each breath, his consciousness reassembled piece by piece. Yet this was no longer the former Tesla. Something within him broke, or perhaps opened. He grew quieter, more withdrawn, nearly obsessed, not with ideas as before, but inner seeking. His diaries mentioned strange sounds heard after the experience, voices in dreams, light images that kept appearing in his mind without warning. He didn't know whether these were experiment after effects, madness, or an opened door that couldn't be closed. After that incident, Tesla never repeated the high-voltage head experiment, but his perception of reality changed. his journals filled not just with schematics and formulas, but philosophical reflections about the soul's nature, light, and what he called the consciousness field. He wrote that true discoveries come not from calculation, but another dimension, like flashes, inspiration, inexplicable voices. He didn't call this God, but said all life connects through an invisible web. And at this web's center lies not matter, but light. Not physical, but primordial, intelligent. Tesla became increasingly convinced death isn't an end, but frequency change. The body dies, but consciousness's wave continues in another spectrum. Perhaps that light he encountered was precisely the level where souls, images, and memory exist. He wrote that inspirations coming during enlightenment weren't his achievement, but gifts, as if someone who'd walked this path before transmitted knowledge across the veil. This led him to say, all who ever lived continue living, just not with us, but nearby. With each year, Tesla grew more withdrawn. He rarely shared thoughts publicly, confiding only in select individuals. Mark Twain remained one such confidant. Their friendship evolved into spiritual alliance. Two men obsessed with questions science and religion couldn't directly answer. In Twain's final months, he often visited Tesla, and during one meeting, rumors say Tesla revealed everything about the observer, the light, the door to another form of existence. He claimed to have seen how soul energy can leave the body without disappearing. Twain, astonished, later whispered these words to his daughter on his deathbed as legacy. These confessions were never officially recorded, but left traces in diaries, letters, fragmentary memories of loved ones. After Twain's passing, Tesla grew even more silent. He knew what he'd experienced wasn't for public or press. It was too fragile, too dangerous. The truth he'd touched mustn't be distorted. He felt one day it would return, but only when humanity was ready to hear it without fear. After these events, Tesla seemed to vanish, not physically but inwardly. He kept working, lecturing, occasionally giving interviews, but the fire in his eyes was gone. He became cautious. World-changing projects were hidden or deliberately reduced to absurdity. His blueprints, especially those concerning atmospheric energy transmission, vibrational brainwave generators, and what would later be called death rays, were either destroyed or securely hidden. He understood. Humanity wasn't ready. Late diary entries suggested his light encounter wasn't just revelation, but test, and he chose not power's path, but silence's, perhaps because he knew delivering this truth to crude hands would doom the world. His life ended alone in a New York hotel room. But surviving diary fragments, hints in letters, strange coincidences and inspirations reaching others decades later, all suggest he didn't depart without trace. Perhaps that light once touching his mind still transmits. Not directly, through inspiration, through memory, through an eternal wave carrying those who once saw and didn't fear. Tesla's revelation wasn't about formulas or technological breakthroughs. It was encountering the other, what instruments can't measure and schematics can't contain. He realized beyond death lies not void, but structure, consciousness, a field we return to like drops to ocean. This isn't religion. It's physics of subtler order that science hasn't learned to describe. Tesla called it light, but not conventionally. It was living principle, energy that observes, reflects, tests. Here he saw true responsibility, not for what one creates, but what one transmits to the world through inner frequency, through soul. This experience transformed Tesla's life. He abandoned projects that could bring fame and wealth, but disrupt equilibrium. He realized knowledge's power means nothing without purity of intention. His path became solitary but conscious. He chose silence to preserve the light. Today, decades later, we're beginning to understand. Tesla outpaced not just science. He outpaced humanity's spiritual evolution. He saw death isn't boundary, but mirror. Not end, but moment of truth. Perhaps that's why his name still echoes through centuries. Not as inventor, but as one who touched the light and didn't burn. Nikola Tesla left behind more than time-defying inventions. He left an imprint, energetic, philosophical, mystical. He became no prophet, founded no doctrine, demanded no faith, but he ventured where few dare look, within himself, into the space between life and death, where illusions fade, leaving only essence. His encounter with that light, that observer, changed him forever, and perhaps changed history's course. The world still isn't ready to hear what he understood, but we're approaching, with every question, every awakening, every person unafraid to look beyond. If what you heard today made you think, support us with a like. This helps spread long-hidden knowledge. Subscribe to After All so you don't miss our next journey to the unknown's edge. Now, a question for you. Do you believe Nikola Tesla truly touched another world? Or was it a genius mind's play? Share in comments. We value your thoughts.